What's up, everybody? It's Beasneeze with a very special interview. I'm here with the very talented Henry. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick for us?
I'm more special than talented. I'm not that bright. No. Yeah, I'm Henry Frias Leon from Rewind Videos and Death is Coming Productions. So yeah.
Let's go. Nice. So for those unaware, what is it that you exactly get up to?
I mostly do filmmaking. I write, I edit on the side for other people's projects, but right now I'm just working on my own projects, and one of them ended up being a full feature,
Nice.
which we're going to finish up this year. Wasn't supposed to be a full feature; it was supposed to be a short.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was supposed to be just like an outlet because I was working on a bigger film years ago, and that fell through. And then afterwards, I was just like, all right, let's just take a break, learn from my mistakes. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do a short film,
Yeah.
And then I got the connections that I had. Like, let's just make a short film, guys. Keep it simple, except nothing's really simple with me. I'm like, let's shoot it all on VHS. Why not? Which is the hardest thing to do nowadays,
Yeah.
because all the tools that you need for like tapes and everything, it's gone up
Yeah.
so much in price, and it's just a lot hard to transfer and edit. And then we kept filming, and then when I started editing it, it was like, oh, it's about 48 minutes long. I guess we gotta keep going. I guess this is our full feature now. Okay, that's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's always weird how you go into things with different expectations and then you never know where they're going to take you.
No, especially with this movie. Again, it was supposed to. It's like a punk film, So, and by that I mean just like the attitude of it.
Right.
And so when we were doing it, we didn't really have a script. I had a concept.
Right.
And the friends that I had in it, I met them during Rocky Cast.
Oh, nice.
And we always talked about like, hey, what if we made like a cool, punkish like kind of movie?
Yeah.
With like two girls just beating the crap out of people.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So when we first started it, we didn't know how the characters were supposed to be.
Sure.
And we're just like, all right, here's an idea. Film this scene, and this scene. It wasn't until we didn't get to finish because we're in Illinois and it snows, and this takes place during like late summer, early fall. And I kept adding more ideas.
Yeah.
And then we kept talking more about the characters, and it
Nice.
fleshed out. And that was the thing that kind of added to this big ball of just
Yeah.
like, I don't know, just like it just became its own thing, and now it's like a full feature, and
That's awesome.
it's kind of crazy. We didn't expect it.
Yeah.
But it formed itself in a way.
Yeah, that's awesome. When did you really start to realize that this was something that you wanted to do professionally?
I mean, I started doing short films ever since I think I was like 10.
Yeah.
Not professionally, of course, but like
Sure.
I just grabbed my parents' camcorder,
Yeah.
just recording around. Of course, I was in Chicago at the time, and I was the one weirdo in the neighborhood. So I didn't really have enough friends to do it, so I just used
Sure.
like toys and shit. Then later on in junior high and stuff
Yeah.
like that, I started filming with my friends.
Nice.
It wasn't until like 2016, 15, I started doing it professionally. But when I really wanted to do filmmaking, I mean, was I guess when I was like, I don't know, like I think around 10 or 9,
Yeah.
I watched Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah.
and I was like, these
As you
actors, yeah.
As you do at 10 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I was a weirdo when I was a kid. It's because of my aunt got me into horror films, but yeah, like when I watched Dawn of the Dead and I see these adults running around in the mall, just doing what they're like. Seems like they were having fun, just
Yeah.
shooting at blue zombies, and it was a lot of fun for me. And so that's when I was like, you know what, I want to do something like this. And then it wasn't until I saw a movie called Flesh Freaks, which was released in 2001, and that's when I noticed. That's when I started noticing the differences. Because Dawn of the Dead, the one that I watched was the 70s version.
Yeah.
And then Flesh Freaks was in 2001, shot on a camcorder
Wow.
by a bunch of college students. And it's like, me as a young kid, I can still tell.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really off-putting. But I'm like, whoa, if these guys can do it, then I can do it,
Yeah.
So that was like kind of the thing. I was like so like hyper-focused on doing films after that,
Right.
which is kind of a curse in a way for me, because it's like, oh my gosh, it is a hard career to go after, but you
Sure.
got to just have the passion for it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the thing. But yeah, like again, when I was a kid, around 10, got into filmmaking, but it wasn't until 2015 where I was doing it more professionally,
Yeah.
working on other people's projects, working from the grit, doing editing, doing like guff work and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Growing up, my father, he's a musician, or he was a musician, and he at first wanted me to follow his footsteps.
Yeah.
You know, and he tried to get me to play guitar, all these other instruments, paid for my music lessons. Didn't work out so well because I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah,
you know,
not clicking.
and I was still very young. It wasn't until my aunt, when she would take care of me, because she's also my godmother.
Sure.
She would babysit me, and then we'd go to the mom and pop rental store down the street.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, you know, with my cousins, we're like, we're gonna rent some movies, and it was like Chucky, The Exorcist, stuff like that, and it would freak me out.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I wanted to watch more.
Right.
And then it just got me more curious about it, and so she just kept showing. My mom was not happy about it when she found out, and it wasn't until my mom just kind of gave up, and she's like, all right, looks like you're into this. How about this? When we rent a movie, we'll rent one Disney movie, and then we'll rent a horror movie if you're choosing. But we got to watch a Disney movie first.
Sure.
And so I think that also kind of like, if you watch my projects, it's kind of lighthearted at first and goofy.
Right.
And then I just do something extreme and violent just to shock people, you
Yeah.
know, just for fun, you know, and I think that's what happened. But yeah, my aunt got me into it. And it's just something, just like as a kid, I'm like, holy crap, what is this?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so yeah, I can never remember what was truly my first horror movie, but I think it probably was Child's Play.
Yeah.
But she never watched Faces of Death though. That was by accident. But yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I remember the first time I ever watched a horror movie. I think it was Paranormal Activity in
Really?
like third grade, and it scared the ever living out of me. And but like you said, it kind of, I was like, this scared the shit, but I want to watch more. It's
Yeah. It's so funny that you bring that up. I always tell people this story. I don't know why it always comes up, but Paranormal Activity. I respect the first film because again, they had a budget of like maybe about 9,000.
Yeah, wow.
You know, which is crazy, which
Yeah.
I respect. And then the second one's like 2 million, which is like, okay, that's kind of ridiculous. But I remember I took my one of my exes to go see that movie. She called me like at 2 a.m. yelling at me.
Yeah.
That was how we broke up.
Wow.
Because she was just like, I can't believe you took me to go see Paranormal Activity. This movie's so scary, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my
And that was it. It was
gosh.
over. Which,
Wow.
yeah. So every time I watch Paranormal Activity, I'm like, I kind of like, oh yeah, this ruined one of my relationships, you know. But it's kind of hilarious. I
Wow.
love that movies, but I love that people get certain reactions to that with movies.
Yeah.
You know.
It was huge. The first one was gigantic. I mean, I was in like third grade, but
Yeah.
like that was so. I remember it was so popular and so influential, and it kind of. I don't want to say it because I'm in no way as big into movies as you are, but I know it kind of kickstarted. I feel like a lot of movies now are like trying to do like the Zoom call, like or
Yeah.
like on the computer, or like I don't know. It kind of started that kind of movement where it was
Yeah.
trying to capitalize on like social media and stuff like that. It's not at all social media, but
Yeah. And you know what? I know a lot of those movies got a lot of backlash, but see, me as a filmmaker, I like to use different types of methods of telling a story.
Yeah.
You know, like a short movie that we are working on alongside with the full feature is all shot on a 3DS camera.
Yeah.
Which is, it started off as a joke, you know, and then I took it too seriously, and now it's like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be that long, 10 to 15 minutes max.
Sure,
you know what I
sure.
mean? We're almost done with it. But again, like watching those movies, it's like, it's so fascinating to me. Sometimes I wish they could go all in with
Right.
what they're trying to do, because you can tell it's still Hollywood.
Right.
They gotta cater to the casual watcher and stuff. But I do have somewhat respect with those kind of movies, especially like the first Unfriended.
oh yeah.
That was really cool. That was really cool. I like that one.
Like I know you always, from working here, you always come in and buy a lot of horror games or sell a lot of horror games.
Yeah.
I know that's a big influence as well. What kind of influences horror games played with you in your filming?
Yeah, so with horror games, I think because with them, it's taking control of the situation.
Oh yeah.
You know, and with horror movies, of course, you get scared and it's fun. You know what I mean? But where I grew up in Chicago, on Pulaski, right? And there was bit of a gang war.
Yeah.
You know, me being in the middle of 3 drive-bys, witnessing some things I shouldn't have witnessed as a young kid
Yeah.
and stuff, and me being outside and then inside not having control of that. And then one time my cousin brought over Resident Evil,
Yeah.
the original Resident Evil, and I remember I was just used to Crash Bandicoot, you know, and Streets of Rage,
Right.
like those kind of games, and and then playing Resident Evil, I was scared shitless. Like I
Yeah.
never felt that kind of fear at that moment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because I'm in control of this.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? If something happens to this person, it's because of me.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I experienced that at the age of maybe like 8
Wow.
or so. And so after that point, I didn't play Resident Evil. It wasn't until maybe when I was like 11, I bought my first horror game, which was Resident Evil Code Veronica. Same ordeal.
Yeah.
As soon as those zombies started coming out of the ground, I was scared shitless. I died. I'm like, I'm not playing this again.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Manhunt came out.
Yeah.
And that game really pushed the envelope. And that game also is a found footage style kind of game, where you're being recorded by a sleazy director and
Yeah.
stuff. And it's more real.
Yeah.
You
It
know?
was very
And-
controversial.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Trust me. Like, I remember saving up my money
Mm-hmm.
because my mom used to own a gift shop and I would help her and she would pay me
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, just for standing in the front counter and stuff like that. And I remember watching the commercials for this and
Mm-hmm.
seeing that poster at GameStop because the front cover is a guy in a hockey mask, that looked like Jason, and I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, this is a horror game. And I remember walking into GameStop with my mom with my cash. I was so excited. And then my mom, of course, she's like, one Manhunt, please, PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so excited. And I remember the guy's face looking at me, and then looking at my mom, and then looking back at me, and he was like, hell no.
Wow.
Like, are you buying this for him? And my mom's like, yes. Like, no.
Wow.
Like, there's no way. Which is understandable. I think I was still like around 11 or like 11 when that game came out. And I was devastated. It wasn't until this guy named Mike, who had his own resale store next to my mom, and this is like in 2003.
Yeah.
Or around that time. And I remember, and he also showed me a lot of horror films. He showed me more of the Italian underground stuff.
Oh, cool.
So I would buy tapes from him without my mom knowing and stuff. But then he was like, hey, what up, little man? Did you get Manhunt? And I'm like, no. Like I told him the story. He's like, hey, dude, I got a spare copy. I'll sell it to you for $20. And so I saved money, but at the same time, I had to play that game
Yeah.
without my parents knowing. But playing that game, I remember getting halfway through the game.
Yeah.
Getting halfway, and just the control of it, the
Yeah.
aesthetic, the camera angles, and that's where I learned a lot of my camera tricks growing up. Is playing games like that, playing games later on like Silent Hill or
Yeah,
Resident
yeah.
Evil, because they were all meant to be like imitating film.
Right.
And so I always liked the way the camera was stationed. And I tried to imitate that with my projects.
Yeah.
Especially with the new movie that I'm making now. The first half of the movie is like a Manhunt style with the VHS,
Yeah.
with all the crazy angles and
That's awesome.
so yeah, I love horror games.
Yeah. Definitely sounds like a big influence on what you do.
Yeah.
That's cool. How about music though? I know music's a pretty big deal with you as well. How do you really incorporate music with your movies?
So music, it's funny because for my dad's sake, it was not a waste.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because even though I was more into filmmaking, it's like even though I don't know the techno babble of music, it's like I know what I like to hear.
Right.
And I do music on my own. I do synth and stuff.
Yeah.
But like with music, I always think that, dude, seriously, like your movie could have a great script, could have great characters, but if the movie soundtrack sucks,
Yeah.
dude, it takes you out.
Yeah.
Music is pretty much the soul, in my opinion, the soul of the film.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many movies that I've seen that I'm like, this would have been so much better if the music fit to it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If they got somebody who understood it, right?
For sure.
And so with my movies, like that's why I always try to reach out to local bands, or independent bands.
Right.
And I try to say, hey, your music, I love your sound. Can I please use it? And the way I treat it is in my films is almost like a set list. Almost like it's its own thing. Like when you're watching my movie, either in a theater or at home, it's like I want it to be like a performance with not just the actors
Yeah.
and story, but also the band's music.
Right, yeah.
And how it just influences the scene of the movie as well.
Yeah.
Because that's how I am too. Sometimes if I hear a certain song, it's like immediately I can think of a scenario for that song.
Yeah.
or if I hear a song, it's like I know where to put it in, like a piece of a puzzle,
Right.
right? And so that's my thing with music. I adore it so much. I mean, again, going back to video games, like Silent Hill has probably the best soundtrack ever because of Akira's composing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's such a great composer. It's like no matter what style Silent Hill game it is, if
Yeah.
it's from Japan or from the Western side, like it's like he understands
Yeah.
what music fits to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what influences me too when I try to make music for my own films. It's like I don't know. It's just like it's just a big thing, and I hate when I see certain like independent films too. Not to like badmouth everybody. Sometimes, like for instance, like somebody hired me to edit their movie, and like a scene of their movie, right? Because they wanted to be more grittier, more underground looking, so they came to
Yeah.
me to edit it. And then I told him, hey, I can also edit the song to fit with it. He's like, yeah, just send me that, and send me one that's with no music. And then he sent it to somebody else to do music, and the music is night and day. Again, and this is when it really shows like how a tone of a song
Yeah.
can change the entire atmosphere and vibe of
Right.
a scene of a movie. Where mine was more like gritty, it matched with it, the synth and everything,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
hard drums, and electronic guitars a little bit there. His was more like bells and a little bit of whistling and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, not my project, not for me to say, but
Right.
again, it's one of those things. It's like, oh my God, please.
Yeah,
please.
I really think of Silent Hill as like the soundtrack works with the game. It doesn't really feel like it's part of it. It's not its own thing in my mind. Like you listen to the soundtrack and you immediately think of like this part of the game, and it's really impressive how he was able to orchestrate that around.
Yeah.
It's just so perfect.
One really quick thing is a movie that I show my actors and anybody who wants to learn film. I always show them this movie.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, this movie has probably one of the best soundtracks of all time.
Yeah.
And that is Return of the Living Dead. Holy crap, is that lineup of music in that movie amazing.
Yeah.
And not just the music, but the score too.
Yeah.
But there's a scene in that movie where the people are trying to board up the autopsy, the morgue, right?
Yeah.
Because the zombies are breaking in. And so the scene itself should be intense and,
Right.
and scary because they're breaking in and these people are just sporadically trying to close it up. But the music they picked was The Cramps, Surfing Dead, which is such an upbeat and badass song. And putting that in just changed the entire tone.
Yeah.
It made it more fun and more upbeat.
Yeah.
Because music can also make the movie, the rewatch value go high.
Right.
Go up,
Yeah.
So, but that movie I always use it as a prime example too when I show it to people.
Yeah.
Because, holy crap, if you haven't seen it, you need to watch that movie.
Yeah,
Because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is a banger. It's so good. So
Yeah.
good.
Awesome. We got to talk about it eventually. You said you're working on a movie, The Untitled Massacre. You want to talk about how that's going, the process, a little about it?
Yeah. It's definitely one of the hardest projects I've ever worked on. Harder than my other one that kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
This one I think is more because it's a little easier too because the last project I did have two producers that gave me the rights
Oh, wow.
to a movie, but they were like wanting updates every weekend. So I'd be working Monday through Friday,
Wow.
waking up at 4 a.m, coming home like around 6 p.m., and then on the weekends, just shooting with the actors.
Yeah.
But I would have to edit it that Sunday night and then send it to them on Monday
Dang.
just so they can be updated. With this one, it is just slightly easier because it's on my time, it's not on the actor's time. So I don't have to show it to anybody and rush it. So this is the third summer we've been working on this movie.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work just because this is very effects heavy. And that's my fault because I just want to have cool scenes.
Yeah.
We worked with actual blanks
Sure.
professionally. We had to make sure it was like a closed set. It was in an area where it was safe. We
Yeah.
had a professional working with us.
Yeah.
And going through the ropes of what to do, what not to do, and stuff. And of course, we're adding a lot of like prosthetics and gore effects. But again, working with the people that I have in this movie is great because the two main actresses, they're like, I couldn't ask for a better pair because again, we were just friends that met at a Rocket Cast,
Wow.
at a Shadow Cast, and they don't act. One of them works for like helping animals and stuff, and the
Yeah.
other one is becoming a teacher, and but
Yeah.
but when they are on screen, and I just tell them what the scene is and what the idea is for what I want them to say, the way they interact with each other is like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like it seems like they've done this before.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of great, and they're just gun ho about it. One lives 2 hours away. The other one, one now moved to Hawaii. She's coming back. She's already back to finish it. The other one lives 4 hours away, so she has to sleep over. We're filming and stuff, but they're so dedicated. I'm so grateful.
That's really
so they're
cool.
making it easier, you know. But of course, it's just working with, because we're such a tight budget. You know, nobody's really getting paid except for their gas and food. The only thing, the money that goes in is for stuff for the cameras or for effects. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Pretty stressful because again, kind of a one-man army with just filming, editing, doing everything, trying to schedule everybody and stuff. But no, I'm really excited about it. And the more we watch the clips of scenes of the movie, we are proud. Like it's just like this is something that not many people have kind of seen before in this, in storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, like it is a simple story, but I always say, but if you give it your own flavor, it can be original.
Yeah.
You know, and we feel like we have something that's kind of cool. You know, but we're trying to get it done because you never know. Other people make almost a similar movie, and then we're like, oh my God, no, we took too long making this and stuff. But it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's
sounds like you have a lot of good people involved with it.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's just been a roller coaster, really.
Sure.
But yeah, we're really excited.
And then if you want to give us a real quick summary of what the movie's about.
So the movie, it's really weird. Again, it's almost like an outlet. It's about this the character of Lily. She's kind of bad rebel, like kind of like badass kind of girl you don't kind of want to mess with. You kind of see her walking out of prison for issues that you find out because she has horrible anger issues. She got screwed over from her film projects. She has it against another film producer that screwed her over. But not only her, she drags her best friend Mary into it, who also got screwed over by the producer and other sleazy characters.
Right.
And of course, this is just like her road to redemption, trying to get revenge, but it kind of goes like ballistic because there's body count starting to happen. And so all this is through a VHS camera because it's a mockumentary style kind of film, you know? And so, and I use that as a way to tell a story because you kind of sense that she's kind of mentally disturbed.
Yeah.
And so the VHS and distortion of the camera kind of feeds to her character.
That's cool.
You know, so, and then of course later on, as you see in the trailer and stuff like that, it goes to HD. And there's a moment in the movie where when reality hits, it kind of switches a little bit, you know? So it's like you can't rely on the narrator, you know, what's going on.
Right.
You know? And like some of the blood in the VHS section could be like bred, like realistic, but then in the HD vision of it, it's pop pink. So it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So you're pretty much going through this like personal hell, you know, through Lily's eyes. And you kind of see like a toxic relationship too, between her and her best friend, you know? And of course with Mary's character, she's such a broken character, you know? And she's kind of like the one with the morals, you know, which is pretty much like the audience, like, whoa, what's going on? Is this really supposed to be the way it is? You know, and she's trying to lead Lily to a different path, but it doesn't really go that way. It's just very chaotic. It's just going through, seeing somebody in their own destructive path, you know, pretty much. And it's just personal stuff that I went through, like, again, sometimes you question yourself as an artist, you know, sometimes you send an outlet, you kind of blame everybody but yourself, you know, and you think everybody's a bad guy, but in the end, it's like, you're the asshole sometimes, you're your own worst enemy. Very cliche, but again, that's pretty much what the gist is in this movie. It's kind of a revenge film. You think she's a hero, but she's just an asshole. And that's what I was telling everybody, like, everybody in this movie is an asshole, except for Mary's character. She's the only one that's like, oh God, please. Like, I feel more bad for her than everybody else in this whole movie, you know. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's not to give too much away. But again, it's just very, very explosive. It's a very absurd, juvenile, and angry film.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you
and-
explain the title choice, The Untitled Massacre?
So that's kind of a satire because the film is a satire too.
Right.
That's the main thing though. Again, like there's moments in the movie like when she shoots the girl in the leg. You know, I don't know if you catch what she said, but it's fine. But she says like, "Oh, you took it too far."
Yeah.
You know, it's like who says that? You know,
Right,
and of
right.
course you have her friend Mary yelling at Lily, saying like, "You shot her. We got somebody in the bathtub. You gotta stop shooting people." You know, kind of stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's a huge satire of movies that I grew up watching, filmmakers that I've worked with, you know, even like people that are in the movie that have worked on other projects, that worked on movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My friend Derek has made movies like Mutilation Massacre.
Yeah.
There's always massacre, right?
Yeah.
And so of course Lily being a character who her backstory is she is an independent filmmaker who got screwed over, who does writing, who is stuck in a writer's block, and she blames everybody because of it.
Yeah.
When you're writing a movie, when you don't have a plot yet, we always put untitled movie. So when I was coming up with the title, I was like, Untitled Massacre. Like that works more for as
There you
a
go.
joke too, you know. And of course, a couple of my friends were like, "What does that even mean?" I'm like, aren't you a writer? Don't you ever put something like, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 something until then,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So we did that. Again, just an inside joke or, you know, and also like satirical,
Yeah.
you know, so, and it's become one of my favorite titles. I
Yeah.
love titles in movies. I always think a title really sells the movie too,
Yeah.
you know.
For
If
sure.
you have a boring title, it doesn't really roll off the tongue, it's like, I don't know, you know, like my last film, Necroplasmosis, you know, another title that I'm kind of working on is Ballad of Blood. And then the 3DS movie, Memoirs of a Dead Girl.
Yeah.
It's just, I love stuff like that when you work in titles.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Yeah, very cool. There's definitely an art to it. Anything else you'd like to add about the movie before?
I'm sorry for those who watch it, just because it's weird. It's a lot of yelling, a lot of yelling in the movie.
Yeah.
We noticed that when we were watching clips, like whoops, you know. But yeah, it's just sorry. And
passionate, you're
yeah, exactly. It's all passion and stuff. But yeah, and it's just a weird movie. Just a
Yeah.
weird movie. It's a fever dream. It's a
For
fever
sure.
dream. So.
Very cool. Yeah. Is there anyone you want to shout out in particular? I mean, you shout out your actors, but is there anyone who's really been helpful in the process of making the Untitled Massacre and multiple people?
I mean, besides them too, because again, I'm really grateful for them.
Yeah.
They without them, I don't think this movie would have probably been made.
Yeah.
Because when I moved to Texas, I moved there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Went there to experience, to see what I could do with my craft.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really like my craft because I was an extreme artist.
Yeah.
You know. And so, but they kept in contact with me.
Yeah.
You know, those were the two friends that I had that would FaceTime me, would call me,
Yeah.
you know, and we would always talk like, one of these days we're gonna make a movie together and it's gonna be sick.
That's
You
cool.
know, and we're finally doing it. Of course, them. But of course, I want to shout out for Dennis, who is my effects artist.
Yeah.
You know, and who's also been putting his own money in this, you know, with the effects and everything.
Sure.
And of course, Dan, he's in a band right now called Misfire, and I met him through Facebook Marketplace, and then I liked his shirt. He liked my shirt. We liked the same horror stuff. We became friends, and we would just hang out and shoot. And he was like, "One of these days, we gotta work on something together." And we're like, "Yeah, one of these days." And then when I started making this, I'm like, "Yo, bro, you want to be in this? You want to be on this?" He landed at his house, his car.
Wow.
You know, he's put his own in this.
Wow.
You know, and he's helped with other effects artists too, like with Sammy. It was another great effects artist. She's an upcoming effects artist. Brought her along, brought his other friends, and like, be in this movie.
Yeah.
All he has to say, be in this movie, and people are like, all right, why
That's
not, Dan?
awesome.
So I want to thank him too, because he has helped a lot.
That's really cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we're really excited about this movie. It's a weird one.
Yeah, yeah, sounds really cool. You sent me a couple of clips, and they're very cool, and it's interesting to. It's a very unique movie, like you said. Like not
Yeah.
a lot of people have seen anything like it. So, what do you think you're most excited about when people are gonna view it? I guess. Are you excited to see like how they react and?
Yeah, it's funny because my Dennis and a couple other people, they are they always ask me like, you're shooting this on VHS, which I've done that before with one of my last projects that was successful.
Yeah.
One of my short films, Necroplasmosis. I shot that on VHS. It was my first film where I actually had a huge lineup of local punk bands, and we showed it at 6 film festivals.
Wow.
And we had a standing ovation in the last one, which I was really happy.
That's awesome.
And it's like, okay, people do still like this kind of style, you know? And again, I was probably the only, that I know of, the only one around that time that that did something in that style in a long, long time in the Illinois area. And with this one, they were like, do you think this is too harsh? Do you think the audience might react differently from what you think?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just sound like, hey, I'm making this for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if people love it, that's great to me. And I have shown, I did have my own little like experiment.
Yeah.
You know, I showed those clips like I showed you. I showed it to 6 other people. 3 of them are fans of those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Right. That understand what I'm going for.
Yeah.
The other 3 are casual watchers. And one of the scenes I sent you when they break into the girl's house, you know, shooting up the place a little bit, you know, just roughing her up. One of the people that watched it, Elise, she was like, I really like that, but I'm so confused on how I need to feel. I want to laugh because the music is so upbeat.
Yeah.
But the scene is so intense. But it's so funny what they're saying because who says stuff like that?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's such like a violent scene.
Yeah.
But it's so upbeat, so I don't know what to feel.
Right.
And I'm like, thank you. That's what I want. If you need to laugh, laugh.
Right,
You know,
right.
that's what I'm saying with people. If you feel like you need to laugh at this movie, laugh. I don't care. You know what I mean? That's how it is. I want people to have a good time.
Right.
When I make a movie, it's because I want, if I'm having a good time with the movie, I want other people to have a good time.
Right.
Because it's the kind of movies I like to watch.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
So I like, my stuff is a little bit more over the top, more
Sure.
explosive, character-wise and situation-wise. But yeah, with people, it's like, and I've had people reacted to my other projects laughing, and like, I get like, oh my God, you know, but laughing at the same time, which I love. Those are my favorite reactions.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite reactions, where it's just like, so extreme, but you just have to laugh at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what I want.
For sure. What have been some of the challenges as you've grown your craft, and how have you overcome them? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that are coming up?
I'll tell you this right now. It's always finding dedicated people. Again, with the stuff that we make nowadays, you're lucky when you find people who are 100% gun ho about it. Sometimes when you have the date set, you're setting everything up and you're about to do it, and then you have that actor or actress that drops out in the last minute. It is a huge challenge. You know, luckily you bribe your friends who aren't actors, and you say do the best you can.
Right.
Sometimes you have to put yourself in the scene or change it up, and those are the challenges that I seem to see a lot, not just from myself, but my other other creative friends. But it's one of those. That's the biggest one that I know of, that I experienced the most. It's just people that kind of drop out in the last minute, you know, and it's just like, okay, we gotta work around this now, you know. Or like this scene that I told you about, or stuff just going haywire, you know, and it's just like that was part of the scene.
Right.
Like the scene of where I get beaten up by the 2 girls that I sent you. The girl in the beginning, Caitlin, is talking about how she broke a breakaway glass during a Rocky set. That was legit because that happened on that day.
Wow.
Because she had the glass she was supposed to smash over my head, the breakaway glass. It was our first day of shooting again last summer. It was the most humid day of that summer. And so the one payphone that's around our area that we were shooting at, I'm explaining to them what the scene's gonna be, and all we hear is a shatter in the background. And there's Caitlin in shock because the thing slid because it was so humid.
Wow.
And we just had to laugh it off.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. You know what I mean? Because it's like, whatever, you know, and in the shot, when you see me walking towards, you see broken glass on the bottom. That's the breakaway glass that fell.
Wow.
You know, so we're like, you know, get that plywood over there, just beat me in the back with it. we'll manage, you know, and stuff. Even though the guy who owns that convenience store, he known me since I was like a teenager and stuff. He was like laughing because he let us shoot inside and outside.
Yeah.
But I told him, hey, change of change a plan, they're gonna hit me over with this plywood. So if you see them beating me with it on your cameras, don't worry about it. You know, so yeah, so some of the challenges are like that.
Sure, that's cool that you can kind of adapt and overcome from the challenges, though. It's the telling of your skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate you being so enthusiastic about it too, because this is one of my first non-family,
Non-family?
or dog.
Oh, trust me, I
interview.
tried taming myself first.
Yeah, I know. My grandma will watch this, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many viewers you're going to gather to my aunt and grandma, but it'll be cool to have an interview out there regardless of your new movie coming up. So,
Oh, yeah.
And then as we always do at the end of our videos, I always let the guest in my interviews choose the song of the week. What is your song of the week?
I just found them out. It's Emil and the Sniffers. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And the song choice is Hurts.
Yeah.
You know, and that song is great.
Yeah.
I sent it to my friend Caitlin, who plays Mary in the movie, and she's like, "Yo, is this song about her car?" I'm like, "Oh my god, I think it is about her car."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So no, I love that. I love the whole vibe of that song,
Yeah.
and the whole like album. The couple albums I listened from them was great.
Yeah, they're really cool. I hadn't heard of them until you sent me the link, but they're really cool from Australia. Like,
Yeah, that's what
so
I was
sick.
looking up. I'm pretty sure they're from Australia from what I looked up and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's one of those bands like I wish I can have their music.
Yeah.
You know, but when I see like 2 million, 5 million views, I'm like, that ain't happening without me
Yeah.
paying a lot of money. So it's like,
Worth it.
yeah, I was like, ask permission. I mean, ask for forgiveness and permission. You know.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's really good. I love that band. So check it out if you haven't heard them.
Awesome.